Hi, I am Sebastian Jimenez, and you are listening to A Shark's Perspective.
Welcome back and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I'm Kenneth Kinney, but friends call me Shark. I am a keynote speaker, a strategist, a shark diver, host of this show, and your chief shark officer. We can measure and analyze a lot of sales conversations through all kinds of great technologies. Call centers have been doing this well for some time. But improving a salesperson's performance, especially one in field sales, often involves ride-alongs, with sales managers having to sit with a sales rep while they're in conversations with customers. However, sales managers are limited on time and simply can't go everywhere all the time. You could have a rep record a conversation maybe on their phone, but you need a lot more data than just a recording. Any rep can improve if you just knew the data you needed on what to tweak, like their talk time versus listening time, the type of questions they ask, how they respond, their cadence even, and how all of those metrics measure against top performers. With all of the advances in technology, machine learning, and AI, how would you go about improving a salesperson's performance? How can we use AI and analytics to improve sales performance in outside sales? Sebastian Jimenez is the founder of Rillavoice, a technology company building speech analytics software for the billions of conversations between salespeople and customers in physical commerce. And on this episode, we will discuss technology to make field sales better, stand-up comedy to entrepreneurship, trends in artificial intelligence, chat GPT, speed of voice, measuring top performers in sales, what industry verticals work, the art of selling versus the science, Brad and Jonah in Moneyball, Terminator movies millennials should watch, the Elon versus Zuckerberg fight, La República Dominicana, Dominican Lou, pineapples, and a lot more. So let's tune into the voice of Rilla with the voice of sharks on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Sebastian, bienvenido a Shark's Perspective, but dígame a little bit about your background and your career to date.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, man. So I'm Sebastian Jimenez. I am the founder and CEO of Rillavoice. We are the leading and defending speech analytics software for the home improvement industry. Speech analytics for the home improvement industry, what that means is when salespeople go out and talk to homeowners in their home, we use AI to automatically transcribe, analyze, and give them feedback to help them improve their sales and to help their managers do what we call virtual ride-alongs that are like 100 times faster, better, and cheaper than traditional ride-alongs. Yeah, and so that's what Rilla is. A little bit about my background: I'm from the Dominican Republic. I came to college in America, and I went to NYU, where I was supposed to be studying data science, but I basically, when you go to NYU, there's always like a pressing existential question every day, which is, should I go to class or should I go to Urban Outfitters to piss off my parents? And I decided a third option. I decided to go do stand-up comedy in shitty bars in New York City. And so I basically got my my actual degree was in stand-up comedy. That's all I did for 4 years. I did stand-up. I figured that doing stand-up was very similar to running tech companies. It made complete sense to me at the time. And so I started my first tech company out of college in 2018. Made good money with that with my first shitty startup. And first shitty startup, we made good money with that. And then I threw all my money back into now doing Rilla, which is at the moment, I think we're like I think it's like top three or like top one, like fastest growing startup in the world right now, or like one of the top fastest growing startups in the world by historical standards as well. It's just like growing insanely fast. And yeah, it's taking over the world, man. So happy to be here.
Well, we'll dig into more about your companies specifically in just a bit, but I'm curious because this is so prevalent in conversation today with AI. What are some of the things that excite you about AI, especially with audio today?
Oh my God.
Chat GPT, consumes so much of the conversation, but there's so much going on. When you think about your technology, but everything else, especially machine learning, that's moving things forward so quickly.
I mean, AI, it's like, I mean, you mentioned ChatGPT. Like, I would say, like, if you like go forward a few hundred years in history, I think there will be, especially when it's like there was a time before and after personal computers. Computers existed, right? Before personal computers, before Steve Jobs came into Xerox PARC and stole the Alto and made the Macintosh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the computer that we know with like, the screen and the keyboard and the mouse, right? There's computers were not popularized or massively adopted before, right? Before the Macintosh came out. And after the Macintosh, computers took over the world, right? I think the same is going to happen, or it's already happening with ChatGPT. Um, as somebody, I mean, our technology, right? So when sales reps go out, talk to homeowners, record their conversations, we use AI to transcribe, analyze, and give them feedback, right? These three things that we do with AI: transcribe, analyze, and give feedback. Typically, it would have taken companies millions of dollars in funding and thousands of human hours to develop each and every one of those components, to a point where the human eye and the human ear can see that this is like, you know, accurate enough for me to not be pissed off at the lack of accuracy with the models, right? When OpenAI, before ChatGPT, OpenAI came out with this model called Whisper. Whisper AI is the best transcription model ever in history. It's actually better than a human being at transcribing audio. That's what we're using on Rilla now. It's like open source. You can literally go and look up Whisper online right now. And we're using that model. The number one complaint of our product before Whisper was the transcription accuracy. Once we launched Whisper and put it into our product and made sure that it's deployed in our cloud, it's like no more transcription complaints, like done, like solved, like in a matter of weeks, right? So we're talking like, millions of dollars in funding, like and thousands of human hours condensed into a matter of weeks. That's how fast it's now. GPT-4, which is the next model that the ChatGPT is based on now, which people can go and try it online on the virtual app. Um, it it's like what our users use our product for is doing virtual ride-alongs, right? And so what that means is like they essentially want this little AI bot to take notes about them. It's like almost like if a sales manager was sitting down in that physical ride along and taking notes about what happened and giving feedback to the reps. Before we used to use our own models, which was like AI, old school AI before ChatGPT. Now we're actually putting GPT-4 to analyze the conversations, and it's better than a human being at understanding what the hell is going on in that appointment. It's able to tell you like we had an example with one of our customers where the AI said like, oh, were there any competitors? Like the customer said there was no, they reviewed the conversation and the customer said, oh, there was no competitors that showed up in this conversation. But the AI picked up a competitor. It was like a window dealer, a competitor that they had never heard of, where the sales rep told the customer, was like, oh, I've never heard of them. And the customer's like, oh, they're huge. So like something that the customer wasn't even aware of that existed, the AI picked up because it understands human language. It understands human context like better than a human being, right? And so when you ask me like, what am I excited about? It's like, anybody who's building in this space, this is like the most exciting time to be building because you can build so much so fast, so quickly. Because what would have taken it just accelerating the development of technology so much. Would have taken years, not taking weeks, right? I mean, think about when the iPhone came out. Like when the iPhone came out, it was like some crappy little phone, and it took like 2 years to get the App Store, right? So first year, then it was like a camera, right? 2 years to get a camera. And now it's like GPT chat came out, and then a few months later, GPT-4 comes out, which is even more powerful, right? And so it's just insane, the advance, and we're utilizing it in our company to the best of our ability. So it's extremely exciting.
Well, and I love the fact that somebody that's passionate about their product somehow weaves the whole conversation back to Rilla. So it's good to see you combine the two. But I was sitting there thinking, you talked about Whisper, which I love. Can you imagine if you had founded this? Because I transcribe a lot of my own shows. If you'd use like an Otter or some of these other technologies where you get about 40 to 50 to 60% right, if you'd done that, your company could have gone a much different direction. It's so dependent on having great technology, and those advances are coming so quickly now with audio to get better transcriptions to really drive this. So,
oh yeah, man, like that. What you're talking about is one of the fundamental problems of startups, right? People think that the first mover advantage is real. It's not the first mover advantage. Like you mentioned, Otter. Otter, was in the market since like early 2010s or something like that. and they developed their own in-house transcription technology, but they're kind of like, and they grew, and they're a consumer app that people use, but they didn't really hit mass adoption because of a lot of these problems. Now you get a new technology. It's easier for a startup like ours to like build on top of that new technology and then just like really take over much faster than than an incumbent. And so, yeah, it's not first mover, it's first scale. It's like the same thing when the internet came out and people were trying to do like versions of Instacart and versions of Uber, but it didn't work because we didn't have the mobile technology wasn't there, access to wireless internet wasn't there yet, GPS technology wasn't there. So you needed these fundamental technologies to be developed before you could actually make these things work. And so, any AI company, anybody who bought AI technology or speech analytics technology before, they had to be kind of they had to be content with the fact that the AI wasn't as good, right? It was kind of clunky, it's kind of manual, it's better than, but now it's like, holy crap, we got something real here, you know?
Walk us through then what Rilla app, you touched on it earlier, but how somebody uses Rillavoice, how they enact it with the app, turn it on, whether it's home services or retail or whatever, they basically turn the app on and then you fill in the rest of the details.
Yeah, so I mean, I can show people, but if I can go into the Zoom meeting here, I'm just going to share my screen on my phone.
Let me turn
And
this on. Oh, there you go.
so, yeah, so like, let me see, no audio. So basically what happens is, and I'm going to tell you what's in there now and what's coming in soon. If I can share screen, if you can allow me to share screen.
Yeah.
Oh, it says only host can share a meeting.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. So basically, when reps go out and talk to customers, they record the conversations. They do everything, they usually do. They talk to people normally. Let me just fix this thing right here. Perfect. And so what happens is, they go into the Rilla app, and after every single appointment that they have, the Rilla app basically, like I'll show you one of my salespeople. I'll put him on blast here for the world to see how he's doing. Let's see, Matt Felito here. So we've been training Matt Felito for about 2 months. And so here, what happens is Rilla analyzes how the salesperson talks. How the salesperson talks is your talk ratio. How much are you talking versus the customer? It's your talk speed, your patience, your longest monologue, right? How much are you talking without interruption versus the customer story? How long is the customer talking without interruption? And as you can see, what Rilla does is it basically tells you if you're green or yellow, if you're healthy, or if you need to work on some things based on how you compare to the top performers of your team and how you compare to the people that are closing the most amount of deals. And so here, Matt Felito's doing great with his talk ratio, but he needs to work on his longest monologue. He needs to work on his talk speed. And when he clicks on any one of these things, you can see how Matt Felito kind of like tries to stay under this red bar. It's kind of like an Apple Health metrics, but for your voices, right? And the same thing Rilla does for what you're saying, right? It measures, like, for instance, we do our pitch, we do our, we talk about the mobile app, and it shows you right here how long you should be spending on each topic, when you should be talking about certain topics. And for anybody who's used the app, one of the favorite features for sales reps is that they can go in here. And let me show you, they could just, we have this thing we call TikTok for sales, where Rilla will automatically understand what objections or what things you need to work on, right? And then it'll automatically recommend you clips of the top performers overcoming those objections so that you can kind of improve just by swiping, just like a personalized TikTok feed for you. And so that's the app. That's what's there now. One of the things that I'm most excited about that we're building now is, like I was saying, we're building literally, and we're going to be launching this in the next few weeks. Because we're building our technology on GPT-4 now. Imagine you're a sales manager and you have a team of salespeople. Let's say you have a team of 10 salespeople, and you just go into Rilla, and Rilla has access to all your conversational data, and it has access to all your CRM data. You as a sales manager can just go in and ask a chat interface like ChatGPT saying, why are my numbers down this month? And the chat responds back to you like, your numbers are down this month because half of your reps conversion rates are dropping, and the conversion rates are dropping because a new competitor showed up that hadn't shown up before. Here's some examples of when the competitor's showing up in your market. Your numbers are down this month because your conversion rates are the same, but your average ticket is down, and it's because your reps are discounting too much, because customers are not able to get their financing approved, and blah, 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 blah. And here's some examples of conversations. Like, literally, you just ask a question, it spits back an answer, trained on your data. That's what we're building now. So,
well, something you just showed, and you talked about this a little bit earlier, but you showed that speed of voice. If you were talking about top performers, talk about where you set the bar. Because if I'm going to use the example of the speed of voice, if somebody was on your team was comparing him to you, the guy, one of the co-founders of this thing who gets excited, everybody's going to fall short. So that's a silly example, but it does show that the top performer, it creates some bias, and maybe that's not always the right or best measuring stick, or is it? I guess I'm kind of an open-ended question, but when you think about who's setting the bar, it may be that they're something that's, I don't know, they're not as measurable as just the conversation.
Yeah, so totally. So what you're talking about there is like the art of selling versus the science of selling, right? And what we tell people is that this is very similar to Moneyball, the concept of like bringing data science to like win more games in sports, right? And the concept of Moneyball is you try to understand what are the inputs behind the outputs of trying to win more games, right? And if you guys saw the movie, there's a scene where Brad Pitt, the character, Billy Bean, he's playing this guy who's a general manager of the Oakland A's. He's talking to all the coaching staff, and they had a problem, which is that the Oakland A's, they dropped like Jason Giambi and Matt Damon. They left the team and they were trying to replace them. And the whole point of the movie Moneyball is how they try to replicate the top performers in the aggregate. What is it that Jason Giambi and Matt Damon were doing particularly different than everybody else, such that they were greater players, such that they could help us win more games? And what they did is they looked at the inputs behind Jason Giambi, the inputs behind Matt Damon, like how much they got on base, how much did they foul the ball, how much did they walk, like all these things to try to replicate the top performers in the aggregate. And so what Rilla allows you to do is it allows you to discover the science behind selling, not the art. The art is still going to be there, right? I'm going to have a different personality than my reps. They're going to have a different personality than mine. But if you have hundreds and even thousands of conversations and there's a clear pattern versus the conversation that won versus the conversation that didn't, then the science, you have to look at the science as well, right? So it's not replacing the art, but it's giving you like, the other 50% of the selling, which is the science.
So this is a perfect example. So one of the things I'm curious about, because you have so much data that comes into you, and I know you obviously you don't share it, but in the Moneyball example, Brad Pitt's only working on the Oakland A's, trying to get them better. The Billy Bean example. Are you as a company starting to look at, I don't know if it's verticals or not necessarily company versus company, but I'm thinking also about what is the top performer. And I give an example. Maybe in today's economy, people are worried about financing versus whether or not the product or service is shiny or newer or better. You know what I mean? Like those things that are across different companies, are you starting to see any data at all that shows what's lifting, what's the rising tide across all boats?
Oh, yeah. We actually ran an analysis recently of where we analyzed 500,000 sales conversations across different verticals to understand what was it that the top performers in the home improvement industry, what is it that they're doing specifically differently than everybody else, so they can close like $3, $5, $7 million of sales every single year for their business.
Well, that's a conversation that comes up all the time. Everybody wants to know, they want to know what's going to make their team better, but they want to know what else is going on in the industry, especially with small to medium sized businesses. I think what that data that you're pulling can be very powerful to help them move forward.
I mean, I can share some of that data if you want right here.
Sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I can get some data here let's see. So, like this is one of that our customers have seen a lot. So let me show you this one, right? So this is, we call it Moneyball for sales, right? Because we basically crunch down all the numbers, try to figure out what is it that the top performers are doing differently. And the first thing that we analyzed was the top performers who closed more than $5 million in sales every single year, compared to the average rep, close to maybe like $1 million, maybe like, $1 million to $2 million, right? It's the average rep. They talk 20% less than those reps compared to the customer. So one of the things that we measure with Rilla is the talk ratio. How much is the rep talking versus the customer in the home? And one of the things we found is that the top performers, they talk between 45 and 65% of the time compared to the homeowner. And then the average reps are talking 75 to 85% of the time. So it's not that big of a difference. It's like 75 to 65. That's not big, but that 20% difference could be one of the major indicators for you to be a top closer versus just an average salesperson. And so talk ratio is one. We found other data like the top reps ask 5 times more open-ended questions than the average reps because they keep asking open-ended questions throughout the entire conversation. Right. Like this is one of the things that we found that was really interesting. Talk about talk speed. Top performers, this is the talk speed of the top performers, the green, and this is the talk speed of the average performers. As you can see, the talk speed starts kind of similar between 160, 170 words per minute, right? But then what happens is when the average reps get into the nitty gritty of the conversation, when they're dealing with objections, heart rate picks up, they start talking a bunch of crap. They get nervous. They start dealing with objections like, well, and they start responding back to objections like, well, the price is not high. What are you talking about? The price is high. The price is super low. I mean, it's the best price possible. We're the best company in the world. The top performers, when they deal with objections, they actually slow down a little bit. They pause. They say, what do you mean the price is too high? What does that mean for you? Well, I have somebody who's coming into my house that, they said that they could do it for like $2,000. You're telling me like it's 10 times that. Oh, interesting. So tell me a little bit more about this person. Who's this contractor that you're working with? Oh, okay. So that's your brother, your sister. Okay, interesting. So you're working with your contractor. Do you have any insurance? Okay, interesting. They start asking more questions during this part, this critical part. That's why they slow down their talk speed. It puts the homeowner at ease. And there's a bunch of things that I can show you, but
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I consider this to be a top performing podcast. Is I ask a question, then shut up, get out of the way, and just let you talk.
Yeah.
You bring the expertise. But let's talk about use cases as well. I know we mentioned a little bit of home service, but you started this during the retail, and then with COVID changing, you pivoted and found that home services industry worked. Is that what you're continuing to see? Is it basically anywhere that you can have a conversation with a customer, this can work, or is there certain industries you see this is not a good fit?
Yeah, great question. So that's funny that like when we started Rilla, one of our operating principles is we try to operate Rilla like a high-speed reinforcement learner. A reinforcement learner is a machine learning algorithm that just learns how to play a game or like do a task by just failing really fast because it's very stupid and it doesn't know anything and it just fails. It's like if you see playing a video game, it just like walks a little bit and it dies because it doesn't know what it's doing and then it goes back and it basically learns what not to do over millions and millions and millions of iterations. So we try to be a human reinforcement learner because we think it's the best way to learn. Edison agrees 1,000 times. The 1,001 tries to get the light bulb right. And so when we started Rilla, we started as a speech analytics for physical retail, and we started in January 2020. And we were growing really fast for all of like 6 weeks until like all of our customers were like going out of business. We were going out of business. I was like, oh my God, I should have listened to my mom. I should have taken that job. I should have gone back to stand-up comedy. God damn it. We're going to go out of business. And then it was like, I would say like 2 years of like hardcore suffering and misery to try to get this crap to work. And and it was a fun time. It was actually a great time, even though it was a lot of suffering. And and then we kind of tried many different industries. We saw that home services was the first industry that we found like intense product market fit, where like people just like they couldn't get enough of this product. We were getting so much more demand for this product that we could satisfy. And so right now, most of our customers are in home improvement. We will continue to grow in home improvement. We don't intend to get out of home improvement anytime soon. And so, so we're here to say,
it's amazing that, if you could take that offline part of when a sales rep and a family are sitting at a table having a conversation, what you can take from that to help build your sales is amazing. One of the things I was thinking about, though, in my experience working at Axiom in particular, where we did a lot of data and advertising, and we worked with sales data and impression data and targeted customer data. And, you could work with, I'm making this up, a company like Rolex and think that you see where the ads are working. And then somebody sees somebody wearing a cool watch walking down the street and they tell a friend. Mm-hmm. And it's that part of audio, that conversation that's normally not recorded. Is there any capabilities of triggering the app with something like an Apple Watch today?
That's something that we've actually done surveys on for our customers because some of them have requested it. A small percentage of our users have Apple Watches. And so that's something that we might be actually doing soon. So, yeah.
Well, so who gets most excited about this? Is it the CEOs of companies who want their reps to do better, or the sales managers who need their reps to do better?
Yeah, the sales managers get like, well, the sales managers get insanely excited because I mean, you think of a typical sales manager, they're spending like 30 hours a month, 30 to 40 hours a month doing physical ride-alongs if they're doing their job well. And so when they get Rilla, it's like, oh my God, I can do 10 times the number of ride-alongs in like 10 times less time, right? So it's like I'm 30 to 100 times more efficient with this tool. They like beg, they say, please buy this tool for me. And then the sales reps usually hate it at the beginning, which is okay, because nobody obviously they don't want to like the recording aspect. They don't want to, they fear that they might be doing something wrong. But that what we've seen is that sales reps tend to be like the most absolute power users over time, because they do get better at selling because of all this feedback that they're getting from the supercomputer essentially. And so they end up loving it. Like in about a month or so, they end up like turning into like our biggest champions. So,
Well, and talk a little bit briefly about what kind of numbers companies that you work with are
oh
starting
wow.
to see, because anybody that I'm a big proponent of anybody that actually stares at and studies their actual data will do better.
Oh yeah,
Um,
1000%. So we have like customers like Kitchen Saver Maryland. They started us with us, in I think it was like March, and from March to April their numbers, their conversion rate went up by 35%. Their average ticket went up by 17%. Their financing rate went up by 18% in just 1 month of using Rilla. And it was clearly, and this, that's the greatest thing about it. It's not that the numbers go up, it's that our customers tell us that they know that the numbers went up because of the capabilities that Rilla allow them to implement into their business, right? Um, for Kitchen Saver Maryland, it's like their bottom reps or their average reps actually started improving their numbers and bridging the gap between the top performers and the average. That's what the tool tries to do. We have another company, Tailored Remodeling. They had a bottom performer who was basically on their way of
Wichita.
getting. Yeah. Taylor Remodeling. Yeah, the Moors. They had a bottom performer who was like on their verge of like exiting the company, and they started coaching her on Rilla virtually every single day, and she became one of the top performers in the company. She improved her conversion rate by 200% in 6 weeks, right? And then she stayed there and became one of the. And that's the most beautiful thing about you know when people talk about AI, people think of AI as like replacing human jobs. And it's true, it's going to replace a lot of jobs, but it's also going to massively enhance the innate capabilities of human beings in certain jobs. And that's what we're seeing here with sales managers that can coach faster, better, cheaper. And that's what we're seeing with salespeople that, you know, um, that very, very cool lady at Taylor Remodeling who was her first job in sales. She might not have even had a career in sales if it wasn't for a tool like this, that where she could get the coaching that she needed. And that's to me, it's like the biggest kind of value add to society here, is that we're actually taking people who would be killers at their job, who haven't found their footing yet because they haven't had enough experience yet. And we accelerate that learning so that they can actually find their footing. So yeah.
Well, I got two unrelated questions that kind of fit the same narrative here, but are you and I'll put them back on the end so it makes sense. Are there any compliance or privacy issues that concern you? Because when you think of about a call center and
Mm-hmm.
somebody uses Invoca or Gong or something like that, then customers often know, most of the time know, that they're on calls that are recorded.
Yep.
It's on the IVR and it's prompted, and then that data is used to either uh, maybe improve the ad performance. Not everybody loves the idea of having their voice recorded, though. If a lot of people are silent about turning on the app when they go in the home, but not every state is also a one party consent state either, and so in that home that could be a concern. But at the same time, other than the privacy compliance issues, this has so many applications that could, where an Evoke and a Gong, for example, don't necessarily. There's other technologies outside of just field sales where this would work well with a call center as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and to talk about briefly about the privacy issues, like that's something that we are like from the moment that we came up with this idea, it was like the first question that anybody asked us
Good.
about. It comes up in all of our sales calls, so we have been more than well equipped to like answer these questions because of it just comes up every single time. We don't even think of it as an objection; it's just like the natural question when you're going to do something like this. So, just like you do it in the call center, where you automate a disclaimer, where you automate consent for your customers, you can do it the same way for your in-home presentations. So most of our customers, they're actually scheduling meetings in advance with the homeowner. And, whether it's through a website link, through a call center, right? You book through your meetings through the phone. And then what happens is our customers put their disclaimer on their website. Like from the very moment that you're going to schedule an appointment, there's a disclaimer that says, hey, by clicking here, I understand and agree that my in-person appointment will be recorded for quality and training purposes. Consent. Then you get a call, right? And on the call to confirm the appointment, that call already has the pre-recorded message that says, thank you for calling us. This call is going to be recorded for quality and training purposes, right? Our customers, through that phone call, they add, thank you for calling us. All of our calls and in-person appointments will be recorded for quality and training purposes. When they book the appointment, they say, thank you for booking the appointment with us. We'll be there tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Just so you know, we're going to be recording that meeting for quality and training purposes. Disclaimer, when you send our appointment reminder to your customers, you put a disclaimer there over text and email and any kind of reminder that you send. And then our customers, especially the ones that are in two-party consent states, we always recommend that they let the customer know when they get to the home. Like, you've already done all this work to disclaim it and to let them know in an automated way. When you get to the home, you say, hey, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so with my window company, my roofing company, my HVAC company, and I am here on a recorded conversation today. If that's okay with you. I will tell you, I've been on ride-alongs myself in person, and I've heard these recordings. Less than 2% of homeowners say that they have a problem with the recording. Most of the time, what happens is, oh, of course,
Sure, exactly.
of course, because what happens is people think of you as a more professional company because you actually care about the quality of the service and the things that your salespeople are saying to your homeowners in the home, to your customers. And so most homeowners actually appreciate that because they know that they're working with a reputable company, just like so. Yeah.
Consumers know that if you protect their data and are respectful of it, then they will comply or work with you on it. If you show up and you smell bad and your hair looks bad and you get a torn shirt with a logo and all that stuff, that's what's gonna set them off. But anyway, so Sebastian, as we sort of close out, everyone calls me Senor Tiburon. So when I ask this to Mr. Shark, but I ask this of everyone who appears on the show. You're from the Caribbean. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
What is my favorite kind of shark and why? I gotta be the great white, man. It's just like goes on attack. A great white. Great white is my favorite show. It's just like I watch anime. And my favorite show is the Attack on Titan. and the great white has that kind of mentality, just like always on the attack and just like on the offensive. So yeah. Great white.
All right. Well, Sebastian, it's a special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions you're going to be asked today?
Let's do it, man. I'm ready to rock and roll.
We've talked a little bit about AI, Terminator 1 or Terminator 2, because we talked about ChatGPT and everything else. And as I think about Skynet, curious, which movie of the two did you like more? Because I know you've watched both of them probably more than once, being a co-founder of a tech company.
Well, Terminator, I think Terminator 1 came out before I was born, if I'm not mistaken, or when I was like 2 years old. When did it come? It was like 1999 or something like that.
I don't know. I'm so young. I don't know. Probably.
I do know that there's a Terminator 1 and 2. I'm not sure which one. I would say a better description of AI in modern media is Tony Stark and Jarvis.
Okay.
It's a better kind of outlook of how AI is shaping up to be.
Very fair, because now I'm looking at it. Yeah. Terminator 1 came out in 1984. This was like this is mainframe and pre-DOS.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I know about it, right? But
very fair. All right. Number 2, because I love the movie Moneyball as well. Brad Pitt or Jonah Hill?
Oh, wow. I find Brad Pitt more inspiring. You know, every man wants to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, right? That's what I think of when like working out. But I vibe more with Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill's hilarious.
So Brad Pitt's who I want to be. Jonah Hill's closer to who I am.
Very fair. All right, number 3. We've been talking about artificial intelligent robots. They've been in the news a lot, so this question will be obvious. Who wins in a fight, Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg?
Mark Zuckerberg.
I want to see this fight. Now Elon Musk's mom is saying that it's not going to happen, but
Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg like practices jujitsu and won a championship in jujitsu. And he's young. He's like what, 15 years younger than
Yeah,
Elon or
but
something
Elon
like that.
weighs 30 pounds more. So Elon says he's going to do the walrus technique, I think it is, and just sit on him. He's just going to
Yeah,
lie down and sit
Elon's
on him.
not in good shape, man. Have you seen
No,
that
no.
picture where he's like the cold bucket of water? That guy does not have time to do any workouts or anything. In a fight, in an actual like fist fight, I think Zuckerberg wins. If they make their AI robots represent them, I think Elon's AI robot wins. But in an actual feat, but yeah, Zuckerberg takes
I
the.
think when they unplug the cord out of Zuckerberg, though, he just stops. What I want to see is their two trainers, because both of their trainers, if he throws a punch that comes within an inch, the trainer's going to say, "Oh my gosh, that was an amazing punch." I want to see trainer versus trainer, because it's two people that are saying yes to everything for a paycheck. So
Yeah. No, but I think Zuckerberg wins. Yeah, 1000%.
fair. Number 4. All right, this is a question about the Dominican Republic and the cultural significance of these figures. Big Papi, better known as David Ortiz,
Yeah.
or Dominican Lou, which was played by Tracy Morgan on Saturday Night Live.
I don't know Dominican Lou. So
okay, then I got to back up, because I was worried. Dominican Lou is hilarious. It's worth a Google. Alex Rodriguez, who is of Dominican descent, but he was born in New York.
Big Papi all the way.
Exactly.
Big Papi. No, yeah, Big Papi.
Big Papi does not look like he ever did roids, unless he ate them or something as a snack.
Big Papi's a funny. He's like, it's the funniest thing, Big Papi, with the whole thing. He's like, I used to have a joke with when I used to just stand up. I was like, oh, Americans, we're not that dissimilar to Dominicans. You guys watch baseball. We literally need David Ortiz to keep our economy afloat. Because when he retired, our GDP actually went down by like 20 percentage points. So Big Papi all the way.
Speaking of stand up, too, that reminds me, I meant to ask you earlier, have you used ChatGPT to write any jokes? Because I have, and they're bad.
They suck, man.
They're
that's
so
one
bad.
Job. That's one job who's like, ChatGPT is not funny. That's one thing that
I think comedians, their jobs are safe.
Oh yeah. Engineers are gone. Their lawyers are gone. Doctors, comedians are dude, that is such a narc. The ChatGPT, it's so unfunny.
Yeah, unless you had a room full of like Elon and Zuckerberg and maybe Bezos, like those jokes maybe work there, but in normal people, no.
Dude, they're so like clean. They're dude, it's like old school, like Jay Leno kind of like late night comedy kind of crap. I don't like them.
All right, number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits or cornbread? I don't pineapples. I don't eat either biscuits or cornbread.
Oh my gosh. This is it's a question I asked Guy Kawasaki. We talked about Apple earlier. Like he had a biscuits or cornbread. You don't have a biscuits or cornbread.
Yeah. I do not.
Pineapples.
Sorry.
That's good enough. So Sebastian, where can people find out more about you, learn more about Rillavoice and much more?
You guys can go to rillavoice.com. That's RILLA voice.com. And you can click on the little link that says to schedule a demo, and one of our amazing salespeople who have been trained with AI will be there to talk to you.
That sounds like a fantastic test.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Sebastian,
how our AIs do it.
Exactly. Sebastian, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you.
So there was my conversation with Sebastian Jimenez, the founder of Rillavoice, a technology company building speech analytics software for the billions of conversations between salespeople and customers in physical commerce. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, he dropped some great learnings on what their technology has gleaned that is important for all salespeople and sales managers to consider. Top reps listen to their customers 20% more and talk less. Top reps ask 5 times more open-ended questions. Top reps are even keel, if you will, when they get pushback from customers and the cadence of their speech remains calm. Specific learnings like those aren't always easy to measure, or even have the measurements without something like an app on a phone to do the silent lifting. Putting a sales manager in the room could alter the salesperson's performance anyway. If you want to improve sales, it's also just a huge reminder to shut up and listen more to customers instead of trying to overtalk them, which too many do. But leverage the data where you can. Second, when we were talking about transcription specifically, I brought up the example of a well-known service I've used for the podcast that was in early technology, but it's not anywhere near the best anymore in my opinion. Sebastian spoke about first mover advantage, and he reminded us that so many people think with startups that you have to have that first mover advantage. But now, especially with technology companies, others can build on top and scale so much more quickly. It's something for all businesses to learn, especially SMBs. Better often trumps first, especially when first doesn't scale quickly enough. Third, we spoke about bettering sales reps and their performance and what AI may be able to do for helping someone's career. Just think about how many more reps a company could keep and make better and improve the experience with a customer and their job life if only the manager had the real data and data instead of their gut feelings on how to actually improve sales. Other than more sales revenue and turnover and training being such a pain, there is such a huge cost savings alone if you can leverage those measurements to help your current employees. You can't save all, but you may be able to save a few more. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I am so thankful to everyone who listens. Isn't it amazing what you can learn, whether you're using AI or not, when you just listen? And I hope that you'll join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.